Hello again, and thanks for clicking on this special announcement for Snow Country for Old Men. We're now 4 episodes into the podcast, so thank you to everyone who is listening. For those who have clicked on this announcement as your introduction to Snow Country for Old Men, my name is Peter, the host of the podcast and a freelance writer and guide based in Nagano, Japan, and this is a podcast about life in Japan's legendary Yukiguni. The reason I'm talking to you today is to announce a change in relation to the podcast, and that is that as of this week, the name of the podcast will be updated from Snow Country for Old Men to Snow Country Stories Japan. And with that, the website address will also be changing to www.snowcountrystories.com. The reasons for the change are simple and won't result in any alteration to the podcast content or our usual bi-weekly schedule. While I'm very fond of the current name, I want to make things a little clearer for listeners and help them discover the podcast as easily as possible. As you know, this is a podcast about life in Japan's snow country, as told by the people who live here. It's a podcast of diverse stories and voices, and for those reasons, I feel that the simply named Snow Country Stories Japan is the best fit for what the podcast already is and the direction I see it headed in future. Apologies for the change so soon after launching the podcast, but I feel it's better to do so now before getting further down the path. The response to the podcast so far has been great, and again thank you to everyone who is listening, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. So just to repeat that as of this week, Snow Country for Old Men will become Snow Country Stories Japan. I'll retire the old name for now, but keep it in a safe place, and who knows, perhaps it will re-emerge in the future for a different purpose. I certainly haven't changed and will continue to bring my old man energy to everything that I do. As mentioned, the website will also be updating to www.snowcountrystories.com. That's Snow Country Stories without Japan in the address, and then you'll also be able to find us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook as Snow Country Stories Japan. That's all for now. Again, thank you to everyone who is listening. I'd love to get more feedback about the podcast, so feel free to message via the website or social media. And as always, it will be hugely appreciated if you can subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. I look forward to bringing you more stories from the Snow Country with the next episode available this Sunday, the 30th of April. Until then, it's bye for now.